Howdy folks! A few days ago I used Amtrak to visit Galesburg, Illinois. And this is the third and final part of my video series on that trip. If you haven't watched the first two parts yet, you'll want to do that because it'll make a lot more sense if you watch them in order. Check the description box for links to those two parts. Well, this features my ride from Galesburg back to good old Ottumwa. I'd like to take just a moment to mention that I paid for this trip using my American Express Blue Cash Preferred credit card. This particular card gives you 3% cash back on all transit purchases, which includes Amtrak tickets. In addition to that, it also gives 6% cash back on all grocery store purchases, which includes Walmart online grocery. That applies to up to $6,000 per year in grocery store purchases. If that's something that would interest you, please check the description box and I'll put a refer a friend link down there so we can both benefit from that. Thanks for considering that. So my favorite car on the train is this one right here. Sometimes called the observation car. I believe the official name is the lounge car, but a lot of people also call it the club car. The bottom level serves snacks, but the top level just has a dome so you can sit in these chairs and look out the window. You don't need a special ticket or anything like that. Anybody who wants to can just find a seat and plop down. In fact, on the return trip from Galesburg back to Ottumwa, I never even went to my assigned seat. I just sat in the club car the entire time because I just loved looking out the window so much. So while I was sitting in the club car, I was planning on eating supper in the train. I didn't realize till after I had boarded, though, and spoke with one of the employees that you were supposed to make a reservation. Well, I didn't have a dinner reservation, so I asked to be put on the fallback list or the on-call list, like if somebody were to cancel. Well, good news, and sure enough, right before we crossed into Burlington, I was called for Doug, table of one. What I didn't realize is that table of one doesn't mean you sit at a table all by yourself. It means you're assigned to a table. So I had 4 dinner guests. Here's a shot of a couple of the individuals that I ate my supper with. There were 2 international students who were graduate students from the state of Texas who decided to come up to Chicago and then ride the train to San Francisco just for the sake of having the experience. And then also with us was a professor from a university in New England whose job was to study the sun. So that was an interesting set of dinner guests, I suppose, or eating partners. But it was just fun to meet new people and definitely something that I wouldn't normally do outside my comfort zone. So I wouldn't say it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity by any means, but first time it's happened in my lifetime so far. Here's all of us crossing over the Mississippi River. One thing that really made me feel like I knew what I was talking about is the 2 girls who were international students were asking about some of the crops they could see in the field. And I said, well, for example, there was a lot of flooding, so this field is all soybeans because they probably weren't able to put in corn. And they said something like, you can tell the difference just by looking? And I'm not a farmer by any means, but I felt like an expert. I was like, yes, I can tell the difference just by looking. Well, how do you know? Well, I grew up about 30 miles from here. That's how I know. Can I mention one more time how tiny the bathrooms are on Amtrak? And it's really hard to wash your hands in these tiny bathrooms. If you want to see this entire sequence of me washing my hands and it goes poorly, stay tuned to the very end of this video. It'll be a little bit of a blooper reel. The lower level of the club car has a little seating area so that you can eat snacks or pop or those kind of things. And I was in the mood for a nice cold root beer, so I ordered a root beer and just sat looking out the window for a while. Let's review how much money I spent on this trip. The tickets themselves were $36. Supper on the train was $24. Yes, about 2/3 the cost of the tickets. Jimmy's Pizza in Galesburg was $20, including tip. Snacks and pop were about $6. Adding them all together, that comes to $86. The memories? Priceless. Would I say it's the best $86 I've ever spent? Well, I don't know about that, but it's up there, that's for sure. Well worth the money. As a kid, I had visited the grave of Chief Wapello a couple times, namesake of Wapello County, Iowa, and noticed that it was right next to railroad tracks, and a couple times I'd seen trains going by, so I was hoping that I'd be able to see it from the train, and sure enough I was. Now it's gonna come by really fast, and if you blink, you might miss it, but here it is. There's Ottumwa High School. We are pulling into town. Jefferson Street. Market Street. Have a great trip. Almost wiped out. Thank you. Here we are. It's Ottumwa, Iowa, USA. There's my mom waving at me. I'm now going to attempt to wash my hands inside an Amtrak bathroom. How do you do it? Very carefully. So much splashing. Hot and cold, no different. Just water everywhere. Oh man. Now, oh, they have Dixie cups, thank goodness. Alright, towels. Let's get some towels. There we go. Oh, the other bathroom, I can't find out of towels. So I'm glad just to have any towels. Trash can. Oh, there we go. Tissues. Well, I didn't need 5 of them.